Introducing the African Diaspora News Channel app, your gateway to stories that's overlooked by the corporate mainstream media.
And we serve as the voice to the Trudeau Black community.
Again, we got Dr. Candace Matthews.
A lot of these documents, looking at.
We are committed to informing and educating through the power of media.
This country is supposed to be about the land of the free for all. It has not been free for Black people, and we are tired.
With our platform, we're helping to end injustice by exposing it.
Join us in standing for excellence in journalism and serving our community. Download the African Diaspora News app today.
So the Trudeau government is doing the most to clean up the mess that they made immigration-wise in this country. Even more cuts to the immigration levels are underway. Take a look at what Prime Minister Trudeau has to say along with his buddy, the Immigration Minister, Mark Miller.
Canadians are justifiably proud of our immigration system. It has made our economy the envy of the world. It's how we've built strong, diverse communities. It's how we've demonstrated that differences can and must be a source of strength, not a source of weakness for communities and society. Immigration is vital to our future. And as a federal government, we have to make sure that that pride, that faith in immigration is not undermined. We've been through a hard time these past few years. COVID stopped everything. When we started to emerge from it, workers were in short supply, things we needed weren't going to market, and prices started going up. So we acted. We made sure that our businesses had workers. Our economy got moving again. We actually experienced the fastest jobs recovery after the pandemic in the G7. Now, it is time to make the adjustments to stabilize the immigration system that we need and get it working right for Canadians for right now.
When it comes to Canada's permanent immigration targets and aligning them to our economic needs, I'm here to announce and confirm that the current plan reduces next year's projections from 500,000 permanent residents to 395,000, a net reduction of 105,000 permanent residents immediately in 2025. After that, in 2026, a progression down to 380 to stabilize the numbers at 365 in 2027. The lower permanent resident targets, as well as the temporary resident targets that I will speak to in some length in the next few minutes, will have and are expected to impact the housing supply gap by about 670,000 units by the end of 2027. That means that we will not have to build an additional 670,000 housing units by that time. Some structural aspects to this plan as well is the need to focus on people that are already here. It means that according and consistent with our plan, over 40% of permanent residents will come from the temporary residents that are already in Canada. These people are a young labor pool, they're skilled, they're here, they've begun their process of integration, and it doesn't place the additional demands on the housing, healthcare, and social services that we see with someone that comes directly from another country. It makes sense. We have a large pool. There are ways to integrate that highly talented pool into the permanent residency population. Adjustments will be made to our economic immigration streams to prioritize that transition of workers already here and focus on the labor and be responsive to the labor market needs. We are an open country, but not everyone can come to this country. Permanent residency is something that we hold dear. It has a value, as does Canadian citizenship. We've been a very generous country and will continue to do so. The numbers that we announced today roughly take us to back to a very ambitious plan that was put forward in about 2020. It reflects the fact that we have and we will continue to listen to Canadians. One final point that I think is really important for the number crunchers out there, and I know there are indeed a few, the temporary measures that we have taken are expected to result in a reduction of Canada's temporary resident population of 445,000 in 2025, an additional 445,000 in 2026, and perhaps a modest increase of 17 in 2027. Those are the numbers that we are factoring in as we look at the impact on the need to build housing units. but also the ones we look at when we look at the overall mix and the plan to reduce the temporary resident population from 7 to 5%. We're proposing a managed migration plan that puts control in the federal government over the numbers of people coming to this country and will contribute to a positive future for all Canadians, and one where we can serve both immigrants and Canadians better.
Well, that's great that the Prime Minister is admitting that they basically messed up, but it's a little too late. We are now in a situation of a runaway train that we cannot stop. So by making all of these reductions and tightening the reins and putting all these caps in place, it's highly unlikely that the insurmountable issues that are going on in this country, starting from crime to auto theft to gang-related violence to human trafficking, the list goes on and on and on. Home invasions, homelessness. You can stop the bleeding now, but how do we control what's currently going on in the country? And that's where we have a problem. So I think it's great now that you want to do it, but where were you months ago, years ago, when so many parties were saying, we need to get this under control. We need to stop this. We need to stop letting people in. They actually let in. Just to give you an idea of how the border and the immigration system was like a country with no sheriff. They let a known terrorist who was on video in 2015 dismembering another individual. They let this man in with his son, who didn't even have status, didn't even have a visa. They managed to get into this country and had every intentions on carrying out a massive terrorist plot in Toronto using a machete and an axe. Fortunately, they were intercepted before they were able to carry it out. But the point is they were able to get into this country. And as a result of that, Trudeau was called to question of how did you allow this to happen? So I'm just giving you examples of how things have run such amok in this country. And so now, because Trudeau has been asked to step down, they're doing the most. And as I said, his buddy, because Mark Miller is known to be his good friend, is right by his side. And can we just talk about the optics as well? Anybody else notice that in behind, there are like multicultural looking people standing behind them? You know, you've got South Asian, you've got Asian, you've got, a rainbow of different ethnicities standing behind him. That's all for optics too, by the way. I'm not falling for it. I don't know about the rest of you. But anyway, I digress. The point of it is that too much, too little, too late. We have a problem. It's time for a common sense election and a common sense prime minister. And again, I say, Pierre Poilievre, we want you. Let me know what you all think about this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this content. Also download the African Diaspora News app. You can grab it at the Google or Apple store, and you will not be disappointed. Grab that app. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Black Experience with Emma Ansah. Thank you, and see you again.